What's up? I'm Kelley from Comics Rex, and today we're getting to interview one of the comics legends, Keith Knight. How's it going?
Legendary, I guess.
I love that. I heard you just got back from San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was amazing. It was, a lot of people were worried about Hollywood not being there and whether it would affect attendance. But I could tell that the attendance was going to be okay when I went into the bathroom on Thursday morning, and it smelled like Saturday afternoon.
Nice.
So it's, it was the right thing.
Cool. The crowd was good. Everybody was happy.
It was great. It was packed. It was like,
Yeah.
it was suddenly Comic-Con was about comics again.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I saw a couple of panels and presentations, like Jim Lee, I heard had a big one that was talking about like thanking everybody for bringing comics back to Comic-Con. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about your book. So first off, what is your favorite Michael Jackson song?
My favorite Michael Jackson song, I have several, and but the ones that I don't think get enough love are "Working Day and Night" is one of my favorite ones. And the early stuff is great. The ones written by the corporation, ABC, "The Love You Save," and what's the other one? "I Want You Back."
I Want You Back. Yep.
Yeah, and then there are some. It's funny because we have this best of. While I was writing this, I had a best of CD that was going around and around, and there were a few that were left off there that I was like, how did they miss this? Yeah, how do they miss this? And now that you put me on the spot, I can't think of any. But "Working Day and Night" is one of my favorite ones. Like, when I was doing the Michael Jackson impersonation, that was one of the songs that I would do that was like a surprise song. Not one of the typical songs.
Cool. And we're, of course, talking about Keith's new book, I Was a Teenage Michael Jackson Impersonator. It just came out this week, right?
It
Nice.
premiered at Comic-Con.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I'm excited to read it. Haven't gotten a chance yet, but I'm glad I picked it up today. So what would you say is the most important skill for a cartoonist to have and impersonator to have?
Well, it's one of the things that I got from being an impersonator when I was in high school, which is some business sense. I think as a cartoonist, so many people think it's just, why can't I just draw comics? Why can't I just come? But if you want to make a living at it, you really have to understand what it's like to run a business.
You gotta be able to sell yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And I learned how to do that at a very early age, and I think that's what's made it possible for me to sustain a career for over 30 years.
That's awesome. I love that. Were you ever actually mistaken for Michael Jackson?
Well, yes. I mean, not by anybody who...
Right.
Yeah.
Like a crowd or anything like that.
You could... In 1984, you could be skinny and black and wear sunglasses and be mistaken as Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Like by white people.
Sure.
Not by anybody else.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Let me see here. How do you stay creative when working on a long project like a graphic novel, or is it any different than working on a strip for over 20 years?
Oh no, it's a nightmare. Like, this was a Kickstarter that I started in 2011.
Okay.
And then what happened was I was in Los Angeles, and my show started to come together, and it was like in development and sort of pitching it and all that stuff. And what was great about my followers, my Kickstarter supporters, is I let them know what was happening, and they were super amazingly patient. And they watched everything sort of come together, watched the show come together, and it was this perfect culmination of the show not getting a third season, of everybody going on strike.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, this is the perfect... Me being a guest at Comic-Con, it's like I can't promote my show, so I have to have something new.
Sure.
So I was able to set... Like, Comic-Con was the deadline.
Okay.
And that's what I realize I need is, like, I need a deadline. I need something, like, it has to be done by this time. And so once I started telling everybody it's gonna be there at Comic-Con, I had to get it done. And I remember looking at the calendar going, okay, if I do 3 pages per day, and then at this point I start putting in the gray tones at this time. But of course, I wasn't able to stay to that schedule, and at one point I drew 10 pages in one day, which was like this amazing, I was like, oh my goodness, I could do 10 pages. And I never hit that height ever again. So
I'm sure you didn't sleep that day either.
It was not good. At one point I hit 4 a.m. and
wow.
I was like, it reminded me of when I had a daily, which was a nightmare.
Yeah.
And I used to pull all-nighters. I went 11 years with 9 deadlines, and it was never again. And, when the kids were babies, sometimes I'd be up all night long. It's, now I have PTSD. You just reminded me of some horrible.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm curious. You mentioned working on the TV show Woke. When you worked on that show, I'm sure that you had a crazy level of collaboration that you got to do, which is, I'm assuming, different than what you normally do.
Yeah, but I loved it. Like, here's the thing: I am a people person. I enjoy being around a lot of people, and I draw my comics in cafes because of that, and so. It was so nice to be able to take ideas and then put them in the hands of people with all these other talents and taking them and running with them and creating something that, is way better than I could possibly picture, If someone told me, oh, you're going to have a person from New Girl in it, and a Workaholics guy, and an SNL actor, and just like it's going to be on, Hulu, and it's going to be. It was amazing. It was a really amazing experience. It felt like being part of like a symphony. Like there are all these different parts, and if everyone does their job, then it comes out great.
I love that it's like a symphony. Have you ever had another experience where you got to collaborate like that in comics?
Not so much in well, I did an early graphic novel, not on my own, but with a partner, a friend, Matt Schwartzman, this book called The Beginner's Guide to Community-Based Art. And he did the research on all these artists that use their work for social change. And they were in all sorts of mediums. So there was a photographer, someone who did mosaics and stuff.
Oh, wow.
And so taking that and then creating these comic book stories out of it. And that was really fun, too. It was really fun to collaborate and visit each one of those artists and draw what they were doing. That was really fun. And then, not in a cartoonist sense, but I was in a band for years, Marginal Prophets, and it was the same thing. You come with an idea, and the musicians take it, and it becomes something far greater.
Because it's like bigger than you or all of you together. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's so cool. So speaking about your work with social change, I know that you do these presentations across the country, these slideshow.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what are some of your experiences that you've had with that, and has the presentations or your reception to them changed at all over the years?
Oh, yeah. It's definitely I started out doing just stuff about my work, but then, they really gained traction when I was watching everyone freaking out about police brutality in, I think, 2014, 2015. And I was like, I've been drawing police brutality cartoons for 20 years. Like, why is everyone acting like this is some new thing? And so I put all these all my comics together in a slideshow and just traced the history of police into the past. Police grew out of slave patrols. The poor whites that were hired to keep the slave population in check and chase down runaway slaves. So the police are basically doing seriously the same thing that slave patrols did. And so, just bringing this to, we don't learn anything about this stuff. So
I've heard you describe it like we get a pop music history.
Yeah. We get pop. Yeah. It's just bad history.
Yeah.
Fairy tale history. So I spend the time I realize I have to couch it in humor, and comics are like a perfect medium to sort of address all these serious issues. And so, I describe it as, tickle, tickle, punch.
Yeah.
That's the way I approach it. And so, yeah, I've developed this new slideshow about how cartoons can save the world, and how we can use comics to educate and to inform people. And I was just talking to somebody about, someone was telling me how comics in the military, like showing a soldier how to clean their gun safely through comics, like how effective it was. And I don't think we quite realize the power that comics have, at least as a country. I think people who love comics and who do comics understand the power of it, but that's what my slideshow is about these days, is the power to change, to save the world.
That's awesome. I love that so much. I know that I've been reading a lot about, like, have you read the March series?
Yeah.
I love those books, and I learned about the comic that came out. Martin Luther King wrote it?
No, he didn't write it, but it was about
he's on
Martin
the cover.
Luther King.
It was about him, yeah.
And they distributed those comics into schools, libraries, churches, 500,000 copies, and it turned on a generation of young people onto the civil rights movement. And I feel like, March is doing the same thing, and there are so many great comics out there now that educate people on because you see what's happening. You see, like, we can't teach this, it makes our tummy hurt. We can't teach anything that makes our tummy hurt. Yeah. Comics is sort of the underground, dare I say it, the underground railroad of real history.
Wow, I really dig that. What is a type of story that you've never gotten a chance to tell that you've always wanted to, and maybe why haven't you been able to do that?
I'm psyched to tell this story, and so now the next thing is, what's going to be the next thing, but I don't know. I have these stories that I want to tell with, more television projects.
Okay.
Like, I have these great ideas that, like, I think would work better as live action than as comics. Mm-hmm. And so I hope I get the opportunity to do that. It's
absolutely.
Convincing people to give me millions of dollars. And
yeah, and it's a really, really ripe time for TV right now.
Well, the great thing about the strike is if you have something in development, this is a chance to shore up, your pitches.
Yeah.
And because once it ends, everyone's going to be looking for
the floodgates are open. Yeah.
Yeah, but even if, here's the great thing about comics, is even if I don't get the opportunity to do it in television, you got a pen and a piece of paper.
You can just do it right there.
Yeah.
Yourself.
Budget of $1.50. I just said, like, TV, $27 million I think it cost for our first season. Takes $1, and a ream of paper cost me $10 to create this, you know. And that's the miracle of comics. It's the ultimate medium.
I love it. Can you describe a moment where you looked at your work and you realized that you'd leveled up?
I don't think I have.
No, you definitely have.
No, I don't know. When I leveled up, I don't know.
Okay. Do any, like, particular strips stand out to you or anything like that?
Well, I think any creator will tell you when they know you've done a good strip, when you sit there and go, oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say, like, suddenly I've leveled up to, like, because here's the thing, and Andy Singer, another really cool cartoonist who does what I do, he made a great analogy to, being a regular cartoonist it's like baseball. The best baseball players, Hall of Fame baseball players, have 300 averages. Like, they only get a hit once every 3 times at bat. He says, so every time you step up to the plate as a cartoonist, don't expect you're going to hit a home run all the time. You're going to hit, singles and doubles and triples. And every once in a while, you're going to hit like a grand slam. And here's the great thing about it. Just like baseball players, people will remember you for that one or two grand slams.
Yeah.
I have people who come up to me and go, oh, you did this strip where blah, 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 blah. And it's like a 25-year-old strip. But they always remember that. And they will always check out your stuff because they saw that thing.
I mean, I definitely have some saved on my phone, honestly.
Yeah. So don't go up there like ready to swing for the fences every time. Like, there's a comedian. He's passed now. He's from Chicago. What's his name? Bernie Mac.
Okay.
Bernie Mac, and this is the other advice I give to people. Bernie Mac said, as a comedian, he goes, you don't always have to be funny. You just got to be interesting. And that, I take that to heart too. You're not always going to be ha-ha funny. But if you can come up with something that is at least semi-interesting, and I think we can all do that.
Yeah.
I think we all have a story to tell. And if we tell it, reasonably well, others will find some sort of common ground in it and relate to it. So.
I totally agree with that. That's awesome. That's why I love the medium of comics, is because there's anybody out there that you could pick up their story, read it right then and there, and connect with it in some way, or put it down and pick up another one and find some connection in that.
Yeah, totally.
I don't want to take up too much of your time. I just got a couple more questions for you. So, what is something that you can't function without?
What is something I can't function without? I don't know. I think I would say my family.
Okay.
And not because they're just sitting right over there and listening to me, but that I can't function without.
I know that you had a stink about when rub-a-dub markers went away, right?
Yeah, but clearly I've survived.
Yeah.
I still have one rubber-dub marker that I haven't opened yet. But, you just, and if something goes away, you adjust, That's the thing, is you adjust. It's nice to have a notebook around all the time.
I agree. I keep one with me too.
Yeah, I can't say that I still function without it. People would say maybe coffee.
Oh yeah.
But
I feel that.
But everything.
I like family. The family's a really good answer. I got my family right over here filming us right now, so I'm all about that. Last question for you. I ask this to everybody. What is your favorite kind of muffin?
I will tell you right now, I just had the greatest blueberry muffin I've ever had, and it's at my favorite cafe in Carborough, North Carolina, a place called Gray Squirrel, and they have a blueberry muffin that they make in-house. Blueberry pistachio muffin with like white, like that, nice glaze that they put on a glazed donut on the top of it. And like when I got one, like I didn't want to tell anybody where I got it. But then
now it's out there.
Well, I felt like if I didn't talk about it, then people wouldn't come in and buy it, and then they would never make another. That didn't sell very well. But it was by far the best, because I've given up on a lot of muffins. A lot of blueberry muffins are either too sweet or they're too like doughy or whatever. But this was like perfect.
Blueberry muffin is my personal favorite too. The best one I ever
strong.
had was a coffee cake blueberry muffin. That was delicious.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
Well, Keith, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. This was a pleasure. So thank you so much.
Excellent.
All right.
Well,
And
thank you.
Yeah, that's it for us.